It takes a minute. It's not playing.
I don't know what's going on, but welcome to the Roses Are Red podcast.
Do you have it turned up?
Maybe
Maybe.
not.
Welcome to another episode of Roses Are Red podcast with your host, Mrs. Red Rose, her co-host, Sam I Am from the Married Couple Podcast, and AC from Midnight Media.
Welcome to a live show when there's always technical difficulties on our side. 90% of it's on my side.
It's okay. It's okay.
Boy, it's been a long one, but it's a good one.
I am so happy you're back. I've missed your face so much.
I know, same here. It's been a long time, but I'm back and I'm trying to get back into the movement of everything. We've had some family issues and but we're here and everything is good. So that is a positive thing. I guess on a deeper note, I'll be 46 here soon. So
I know.
Joining that club now. Once you hit that stage of your age, when you turn into your 40s, you're like, oh man, like 41, 42, it's like a pretty good time. And then you hit 45, you're like, what the fuck have I done with myself?
Seriously, 45, I was like, fuck.
Right?
I was like, didn't I just turn 40? I feel like it was yesterday.
What have I accomplished? What have I done? What have I yeah, that's kind of like the feeling I'm getting now, and I'm going, damn, I'm old now.
It's crazy. My oldest has always been like, oh, you're young, blah, blah, blah. And my youngest now is like, Mom, you're old. I'm like, shut up. I am not that old.
It's like, don't remind me, please.
Right.
Well, and I was talking, I had a call from the past. And you're going to be in shock who called me, and we talked. He actually reached out to me on TikTok, and then he sent me his number, so I reached out to him. Mr. Brownut.
Really?
Yes. And I was like, holy shit, I haven't talked to him in 2 years.
Wow.
It's been 2 years since I've heard of him. But hey, Mr. Brownnuts, if you end up watching the show at some point,
yeah.
Miss you. Can't wait to he wants to collab and do some, so we'll see what happens in the near future.
That'll be great. Yeah.
I just gotta not overdo what I can't handle anymore.
No, I get it. Yes. Not only have you had family stuff, then it takes a toll on you. And as, parents trying to hold it all together, at some point it ends up hitting us. You know what I mean? What we get run down, anything that is in the air, hits you, and it's just fucking dumb.
Right.
You're like, I can't handle this. I'm not the one who should be feeling bad right now. No, I get it. So
yeah. Oh no.
I'm happy to have you back.
I'm happy. I'm happy I'm back. I'm happy to be with you, with amazing friends and everybody on here, because it's wonderful to actually be able to come back to, some smiling faces. So
yeah.
But boy, do we got a story for you guys.
Goodness. I'm so excited.
Before we go into that, let me give you a couple updates.
Yes,
so do you remember the elderly couple from TikTok, the one that was the 35 married to the younger kid?
Yeah.
Can't remember his name for the life of me, and I should have wrote it down, but I just have it on top of my head. Anyways,
The
he
one
is
that they were surrogating and they did a surrogate and then the surrogate was like, nah, I ain't doing that shit.
yeah, that one. Let me see if I can find the story real quick. Well, he's doing time now.
Oh, fuck, really?
Yes, for
I
something he
totally
did in the
just spilled
past.
my shot. Hold on. I had a shot poured, ready to go, and it just went on everything. Give me 2 seconds. I'm so sorry. You find that.
I
I'll be
will
right back.
find that story real quick for everybody to see and watch. It's I was in shock to hear it, to see that. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, let me make sure I post it on here." Let me, so she's pleading for oops, there we go. Found it. She's pleading for them to let her husband out. Um, he apparently it's something about mismanaging money. It's crazy. What I'll do is I'll play you guys her clip here.
Is it like tax evasion or something or fraud?
Fraud, that's what I was looking for.
Mm.
So now she's
Would
pleading
be the theme of the night, maybe.
right? All right, here we go.
Jeez Louise.
I know,
Sorry.
right?
I can't believe I just spilled.
Plain.
A year is way too long. Missing him a whole bunch.
Yeah. Whole bunch. She's gonna be missing her man.
Bunches and bunches. A year is way too long. He's gonna find
So
somebody in jail. Oh wait, what? Sorry.
yeah. Well, it's either that or, she might be finding another 20-year-old
She's gonna groom another youngin. Oh
Curon,
lordy.
that's what his name is, Curon.
Okay.
So they're charging him for fraud and also for mismanaging money.
Okay.
Is what, these are all allegedly. I don't know for sure, but this is what
What sort of fraud?
well, let's see if we can find here anything where she has anything on here. No, I think she's taken pretty much him off of everything.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. So I mean, she was a crying fest, asking for them to release him. So that was just a brief couple seconds on TikTok, and then it just disappeared on my end. So
Please
I'm
just
assuming it wasn't that big of a deal, or nobody really
Oh,
cared.
right.
Nobody cared, or one or the other.
That's different.
I'm going for the one nobody really cared. That's
Right.
kinda where I'm going.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, I must share. I must share
Yeah.
that." The other thing is that I did find out who's on the birth certificate for, of course, Dave's favorite, and so
Gypsy
Dave's favorite
Rose.
is Rose, and of course, it is, Ryan is named as the father on the birth certificate.
And that was the boyfriend, right?
I thought that was the
Or
husband.
the husband. Oh,
The
fuck,
husband.
really? Hold
Yeah.
on.
I thought that was the husband. Let me share screen just to make sure everybody knows that this is a proven document that they've showed on here.
I've accepted it. On her birth certificate, she is listed as Aurora Raina Anderson, and Ryan is listed as the father currently.
Wow.
I've accepted it. On her birth certificate,
She's accepted it.
Wow. Did they do a paternity test?
Not yet.
Oh,
Not yet.
she just was like, I'm going to saddle you with the fucking child support.
But here's the confusion part that I have on this. In the beginning, like, I think she was 6 months. No, yeah, I think she was like 6 or 7 months. Didn't they say they had a paternity test done?
I thought they did.
I could have sworn I heard that, but then I'm like, maybe I was in mid sleep.
No, I thought they
Maybe
did. Hold on.
I thought so.
Okay. So Ken. It says the test definitively established Ken Yerker as the baby's father, as he was listed as the alleged father with 99.9% probability. At least that's what It said back in November.
I mean, I don't. Maybe it's fake. Maybe it's not.
Right. Weird.
Right. I don't know. I mean, she was calling everybody out the other day. She's into some controversy again.
Of
One of
course.
them was I guess her she went into some hair salon and it's only for certified hairstylists. And they let her buy it, so people are upset, like, "Hey, I went to
Oh, like
school, I paid
a
all this
Sally's
money."
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, to get that discount, and she's like, "I went to school, I've paid all this, why are you letting" so these are professional stuff, so she's in
Right.
that controversy, and she's like, "I don't know why everybody's making a big deal," so,
Crazy.
I'm like, maybe she just wants to be in the limelight or something, I don't
Right.
know. I mean, she just always, I think, wants to be in the limelight or something, and then she was calling all the people that talked about her, you've got the Nina, everything, she
Mhm.
said, "For all you that made money off of me," so she's pretty upset about that, but, I mean, I hate to say it, but you're a public figure in the eye of the public.
Right. I mean, she's put herself there. I
So,
mean, she could have hidden away after, she got out of jail and not been a public figure, and then everything would have been fine. But that's not what she's doing. She is, gleaning on to her 15 minutes of fame and trying to continue it. And I mean, you can't really say shit. People are going to
mm,
talk. And if people are
yeah,
talking, then that's good for you.
and
So,
she chose it.
yeah, she did.
What do you
She had the
expect?
choice. She could have just lived her life and not she didn't have to do the Lifetime shows or whatever it was, and she didn't have to do any of it. She could have just lived her life and not been a public figure. Granted, the initial story was out there, but she didn't have to say, "Here's what I'm doing now." She
Yeah,
didn't have to go onto TikTok. She didn't have to do any of that. You know?
she could have quietly
That's what
disappeared
I'm
through the
saying.
night,
She could
you
have
know?
been released from prison and just done nothing. Maybe done an interview. This is where I am. That's it. I don't want you to be in my life anymore.
Yeah, like Honey Boo Boo and all these other ones, they're in the
Oh,
limelight for a little bit, and then they just kind of
well, they're still kind of in it.
oh, are they? Okay, never mind,
Yeah.
I missed it.
There's a whole lot of scandal with that too.
I'll take that back. Sorry, but you take that back, never mind.
But there's also, I mean, there's plenty of people who have, been in the limelight and say, nope, I'm good. Uh,
Yeah.
Midnight Media, or AC, who is not here tonight because he's, crazy busy with a new adventure, which he'll be back on. But so much love and so many exciting things coming up for AC. But he goes, "Did I just walk into Gypsy Talk?" Yes, you sure did. And
Yes.
then he says, "Love Honey Boo Boo." Mama June has squallered all of her, I mean, this is off topic, but squallered all of her money, even though she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have this for you. I'm saving it." She just fucking spent it all. And they were pretty pissed off at her.
But I think, you know what? I think every mom, like, I've had
Well,
enough
and
time at night to go down a couple rabbit holes,
yeah.
and I was watching, like, you have Kim Zodiac from The Real Housewives of Orange County.
Mhm.
Her daughter just went on. She has a new reality show in New York, or
Mhm.
some show she's got doing. Anyway, she goes on there and she says, "Well, my mom spent all my money that I made during my childhood, and now my
Yeah.
mom's still asking me for money." I'm going, "Shit,
That's why these folks
I mean."
put their kids into it. Um, yeah, it's crazy. AC says you can be as skinny as you want, but you're never gonna have that fucking beaver face. Not gonna have that fucking beaver face. That's true. That is fucking true.
Right.
Real quick,
That
just I'm gonna do a shot. I don't know if you're drinking tonight, but I am going to do a shot, just in honor of you being back here.
You know what? I don't know where my shot glass is, but cheers.
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 After I spilled the one. I'm gonna drink it before I spill it again. You good?
That's been a while since I had a tequila shot. I'm good. It's been a while,
Okay.
but we're good. Yeah. Hi, ET. Missed ya, and I still miss you on here.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, it's crazy to see how that now. do you believe that these moms that do this, or the mom, not just the mom and the dad, because we've got Britney Spears, we've got Jessica Simpson, we've got all these kids. They were, the only person I don't think I've ever heard is like Selena Gomez, or I think that's pretty much it.
Right.
Amanda Bynes is the other one.
Mhm.
Do you think that the parents should go to jail for something like that?
Do I think they should go to jail? No. Do I think there should be processes put into place to where they can't fuck over their kids? Yes. And unfortunately, when you're a minor, you don't have you have no legal leg to stand on, and it really is your parents as your proxy. So the parents go, well, I take them to, I mean, I'm never profited on Alex dancing, but I took her to all the fucking classes. I paid for them, blah, blah, blah. What, if she would have made it big like JoJo Siwa, I mean, her mom definitely profited on her stardom. But, you know what I mean? You never, as a parent, you think, oh, I'm trying to better my child. But these parents seem to be trying to profit off their children. And I just don't think that, um, the parents should go to jail for putting their kids in dance. Jojo Siwa Sam says no. AC says no. Again, like when Alex was in dance, she wanted to do it, so we did it. But I every fucking year I was like, do we really want to do this? Is this something you want to fucking do? I'm over it. I'm tired of paying the money. But again, these parents keep profiting off of their children, and there's no safeguard for these children. This money isn't put into a trust for them. It's the parents, gleaning off of them. I mean, even as far back as like Macaulay Culkin, or I'm sure, I don't know the story of Shirley Temple back in the day. Most child, stars, their parents reap the benefits, and by the time the kids get old enough to reap the benefits, all their money is squandered. So I don't think they should go to jail, but I do think there should be some safeguards, and the money that these children make, most of it, I'd say 80% of it should go into a trust for the child and can't be touched until the child is of age.
Yeah, I agree.
AC says it's not only profiting, it's literally living vicariously through them, all their things that they wanted to do in life. They get to live through their daughter, and then they become monsters. Also, he says Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
It goes back a little further than that. You're right. How about Judy Garland? You're correct. I was going to say, Shirley Temple was before Judy Garland. Blech. Words. But I mean, truthfully, I think there should be their money should go into a trust that the parents can't touch.
I agree.
And then AC says, well, then you're telling people how to raise their child. You can't. You're right. But it should go into a trust so they don't use their fucking money. Because the kids doing the work, parents aren't, they are supporting them. But, if there was...
Does that become do they become now their managers, and then they get a percentage?
That typically happens. Yeah. I mean, I honestly think that they should maybe, again, I think maybe a 70-30. 70 goes into a trust for the child parents can't touch. The 30 goes into getting them to the auditions, the classes, the whatever, everyday living expenses. But, a parent's not going to go fucking crazy over 30%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like
it's hard because you look at all scenarios around it, and then you go, okay, what would I do if I were in their shoes? Well, I would probably, most likely, me personally, I would put it in a trust fund or in like a CD or something for them to make money off of it when they get older.
Absolutely.
That would be me. And I would use my own money, because I know at the end, if I ever get old and they send me into don't
put me in the home or find a really good one.
Right. Or probably, at least where they have Chippendales dancing at night or something,
Right.
I know that they're going to have to pay for that when I get at that age, right? So I can only hope that they would take care of me at that age, since I helped them,
Right. And AC says, what would you do in their shoes? As if you needed the money, you would take it. Well, here's the deal. I mean, I had a kid that danced, and she was in a competition at age 7. And she was handpicked to do it. And I told the owner of the studio, I can't afford this. And she goes, well, you can either, and I said, would you allow me to clean the studio, or would you, and she goes, I have one better. Why don't you, you sub for me? So I worked for my kid to continue into that when she was little. And then, I was able to, have her further that. But again, I kept going. Are you sure? I really don't want to pay for this. This is a lot of money. If this is something you love, we'll continue to do it. But I checked in all the time with my kid. Now, and again, had she been making money at it, I would have put it in a trust for her, because that's not my money, it's hers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know with my daughter, she was in she did a couple beauty pageants. She was on the Gerber commercials when she was a baby.
Yeah.
She made a little bit, I mean, nothing dramatic or
Right.
glorious, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like maybe a couple $50, $60, whatever, but nothing huge. But when you're in that beauty pageant light, man, those outfits can get expensive. Like we're looking at
Oh, I
300,
know.
$200
Yeah.
for this little thing. You're like, it's just some tool together. You're like, I can
Right.
put this shit
I can
together. And
fucking
I'm like,
make this.
you're like, what the fuck? But those things get expensive, and the tiaras, and then we're talking about
Right.
shoes and Jesus.
And AC said, even if you couldn't pay rent, would you keep it in the trust? That's why I said like a 70-30 split. If they're making that much money, the 30% should pay my rent. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
70% should go to my kid, because they are the one doing the work. They are.
Yeah.
They're the one. They are the one that's marketable. They are the one that is doing the thing. And I'm not making a living off of my child, but the 30% should go for me, taking them to everything or whatever and paying rent. So that's how I would feel. But most parents of child stars don't do that. So
Yeah. So on that note, let's get on to the story of the night. Because you know what? I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I was an adult in the 1980s and this story came out, I mean, I'm already I'm not a health freak, but I try to do as much as I can as naturally, like
right.
try not
Yeah.
to, I mean, I've got a piercing in my ear for headaches that I got so I could not take the medication that I had to take for headaches. I'd do anything
Right.
if I don't have to take meds. But let me tell you, Tylenol is the story of tonight. It's a documentary that came out on Netflix. It's called The Tylenol Murder. It's a cold case, and they just solved it just not recently, right? From my understanding,
I
just a
don't think
couple
they've
years ago.
actually solved it at all.
Oh, okay. Or they
They
closed the case or something
They
like that, right?
closed it, but it hasn't technically been solved. Honestly, even I mean, the only thing you can take during pregnancy is Tylenol. You can't take ibuprofen or anything else. Tylenol is supposed to be the safe shit.
Right?
Yet here happens in 1982 that people are dying, and so I
And
mean,
and the worst part is, why does it have to be in Chicago? Why did it have to start off in the town that I absolutely love? I love Chicago. You know
I
what? I love their deep dish pizzas, my
oh
favorite.
yeah. Deep dish, pizza, is amazing. I mean, the whole culture is great. But honestly, this story kind of blew my mind. I remember hearing about this. I mean, we were
I don't
young.
remember
We were
any.
Well, here's why I think I remember, and maybe I remember hearing after the fact, but um, this initially happened in 1982. So September 29th, 1982. Um, a gentleman by the name of, hold on, I had it written in my notes and I spelled rum all over it.
James James W. Lewis?
No,
No.
a gentleman by the name of his name was Andrew Janus.
Is that's the creepy looking guy, right? And I'll show you
No,
a picture
this
what
is
he
the
looks.
guy that dies first, or the
Okay.
person that they. So a gentleman. in the Chicagoland area, the paramedics get a call. Andrew Janis and his wife, Andrew Janis is 27 years old, young kid. And he's not feeling so well. And he tells his wife, I'm going to call in today. Don't really feel well. I'm going to take a couple Tylenol and go to bed. Has a cold, fever, whatever. What do? You take Tylenol. Within minutes of taking that Tylenol, he is convulsing and keeled over, and they get a call, and the rescue squad comes over, and he's still alive when they get there, but he ends up passing away. And they say he dies of a heart attack. A 27-year-old male who's healthy and has no other, pre-existing conditions. Sorry, words are hard. They say he keels over from a heart attack, and they're like, this seems weird, but we have to go with it. There's nothing odd about this. So initially they rule it as a heart attack. So Andrew Janis's family goes, hey, we're going to call all of the relatives over, brothers, sisters, anybody come over. His brother Stanley and his wife Teresa were like, we don't really feel like, doing this. We're mourning as well. But they end up doing that. But because of grief and everything, they each had a headache and went in and took some Tylenol. And literally hours after Andrew passes, the same fire department rescue squad gets called to the same fucking house for the same symptoms. They get there, and Stanley, Andrew's brother, was to the point where he was passing away or had already passed. And Teresa, his wife, then shows signs that she is going into the same thing. She ends up brain dead and subsequently dies in the hospital. Then they go, wait, this is weird. What do they have in common? And the medical examiner goes, well, they bring in this lady from the health organization there, and she's a nurse, and she goes, she looks at everything, and then she realizes that they all had taken Tylenol. She goes, I think you need to check this shit out.
Well, and then before that, on September 28th of 1982, a 12-year-old Mary Kilmerman was hospitalized. Kilmerman was hospitalized consuming a capsule of extra-strength Tylenol.
But they didn't correlate it until the 3 deaths on the 29th. And Kellerman actually ended up passing on the 29th as well. Yeah. So now they have 5 deaths on the 29th. And there was 2 others. Yeah. I believe.
Total of 7. Well, total of 7 of what they know of.
Right.
So there could have been more.
A Mary Reinman and a Mary. There were so many Marys. There was
Teresa.
There was
Adam Janis, Stanley Janis, and Teresa Janis, who each took Tylenol from a single bottle, and then all 6 of the Janises, Mary McFarland,
Paula Prince, and Mary Reiner would also pass due to consuming these pills. Yeah. So they pulled the Tylenol and whatever, and they did they tested the blood of the Janices and the child Kellerman, the 12-year-old, and they found that there was, because the medical examiner goes, okay, I have been through, I know poisons. It's not this, it's not that, it's not this, nothing. There's usually signs for like arsenic or whatever. And usually there's, vomiting and whatever. This is instant. And then he went, oh, I remember cyanide. I mean, the old, James Bond films or whatever. And, where they do the capsule in their teeth. And he goes, wait, that's something that's immediate. And they tested them for cyanide and they came back positive. So,
and then there was a flight attendant too, right? There was a flight attendant that
yes,
died.
that was Paula Prince. Yes.
And then I think the deputy or somebody that went in there, they said, did you guys touch this bottle? Did you guys give her mouth to mouth? Because I guess there was enough around her mouth that would have killed the next person.
Well, and she was discovered actually on October 1st. Her best friend had literally they were inseparable. I mean, they weren't always on the same flights, but she had called her on the 29th and no answer. She thought, that's fine. She's probably going out. We're home, we're on leave, whatever. And then she didn't hear from her the next day, but she knew she had a shift. And then her best friend showed up for her shift on October 1st and was like, hey, why isn't Paula here? Or, where's Paula? They're like, she didn't even show up for a shift yesterday. And she went, there's something wrong. So after the Genesis and I think her name was Mary Kellerman, were the 12-year-old were found dead. Police and Mary Reiner and the other gal, Mary McFarland, and there's so many Marys.
There's so many Mary, and
all of them are Marys, I have to say. But Mary Reiner and Mary McFarland were found dead within that day of taking those pills. So what the police did, they realized it was the Tylenol, right? So they were literally, and this is back in 1982, they went down on their in their police cars, on their speakers, if you have Tylenol, don't take it. Please surrender it to the police. We need to, whatever. We need to study it.
How crazy would that be?
I know.
I mean, it's crazy to have someone, it's
well, and
kind of took me back to the time like when we were all locked up for COVID, right? And
right.
That's what kind of like it felt like. Damn, I wonder if that's how it really was. Like,
well, and it's crazy to think. Most of us listening here don't remember. I'm sure a few of us do not remember a time when there wasn't safety caps and foils and things on your fucking Tylenol or ibuprofen. You used to be able to, you just bought a fucking bottle, opened it, and it poured right out in your hand. It was, there wasn't a seal wrap. There wasn't a child safety. There wasn't the foil. There at that point in 1982, literally, you could pick up a bottle off of the counter or off of the shelf, open it, and pour out the shit. There was no way of telling if it had been tampered with. So.
Right. It's just like
it's mind-boggling,
right? And I'm trying to think. I'm like, you know what? You're right. There was bottle caps that had that just the little white paper, and it would fall off from the top.
Even then, there wasn't white paper. Not even then. Yeah, they didn't even have that. I mean, we don't remember that. I mean, you were 3. I was almost 3 when this all happened. I mean,
which is so crazy,
right?
I'm just like going, no.
My sister wasn't even born yet. She wasn't born until November. I mean, seriously, that's kind of the craziness of this. I don't remember a time where there wasn't something that I had to, have a degree to open. It feels like.
Right? Because that thing, try to twist one of those things, especially the kid ones, okay? I've got a little, and I got to get her medicine all the time in the evening, and I'm like with this thing just like, I'm to the point where I just want to chuck it out the window. I'm like,
right.
Okay. Because they're so hard now. So I'm like thinking, imagine back then where you just twisted it off. Like, I mean, not even, well, you know what? Not even ketchup anymore because ketchup has a seal on it. So, I mean, just think of, well, shit, there's really
Tylenol
nothing.
Murders for the safety precautions.
Right? I mean, it's a good thing, but
because of that's why we have the triple sealed shit now. But yeah, so they do the testing. They have the police going, hey, but what had happened to Paula Prince is she had bought, before the story broke, before anybody knew about the Janices and Kellerman passing away, she had gone that night, or before everything happened, she had bought a thing of Tylenol. She had probably come off the plane. She was like, well, I've got a fucking headache, I need it. Went and bought it and went home and took it, and they think she passed that same day.
And the lot number that was on the bottles was MC2880. That was a lot number that was on the bottles that they were looking for.
The initial ones, yes.
Yeah.
So,
but you know what's crazy is I honestly did not know that
mhm.
Johnson & Johnson was the ownership. I didn't know that they owned Tylenol.
Oh, well, they're kind of one of the biggest, drug
I always think of
over-the-counter
baby
drug. Yeah.
shampoo.
Yes.
I always think baby shampoo,
Yes.
baby powder. Like, that's where you hear Johnson & Johnson, that's where my head goes. Baby wipes,
True.
baby powders. I did not know that they actually manufactured Tylenol for the life. I didn't know that until I saw the documentary, and I was like, holy shit, they do a lot more than just baby powder.
Right. Well, so immediately Johnson & Johnson was going on damage control, right? They were like,
Issued recalls.
they said, turn in your fucking Tylenol. Nobody fucking take it. Don't take it. If you have a headache, suffer.
Yeah.
Turn it in. We're gonna dispose of it. They also issued, pulled all the bottles off. But they also said there is no way in hell that there could be cyanide in our pills. There is not even cyanide in the facility. They were really going on damage control because Tylenol was 25% of or more of their business at the time, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, nope. And even the medical examiner, or one of the people from this case, went to their facility in Philadelphia. They did realize that there were two lot numbers that and one came from Philadelphia, the other one came from Texas,
which was
but
lot 1910 MD and then MB 2738,
right,
which was the other one.
right. So they went to the Philadelphia facility. They deemed it no way could have been Johnson & Johnson, but they're there to help. And Johnson & Johnson was instrumental in a lot of the investigation on this. So we now have 7 people who have passed from this. The gal that they brought in, and I would have her name, but I spilled rum all over my notes. Had noticed, the medical examiner looking at the pills had noticed there was a brown ridge around it, like somebody had opened them and maybe put, dumped the Tylenol out and put them in it, because these are the gel caps,
Oh, okay.
and they thought, oh, well, then maybe, and they thought, okay, so all of this happened, and they did a test where the people bought, or where, the people lived. And if somebody was to go in and say shoplift a bottle of Tylenol, switch it out with the cyanide and put it back, to drive to all of the places where the deaths occurred, it would take about an hour. So they were like, well, that tracks. Back then, again, not as much security. We don't, I mean, again, literally they could open in the store, open a fucking bottle and throw in the fucking compromised pills with the cyanide, and nobody would know the difference, because there's no way of telling they've been tampered with, right?
Right. But the crazy part that it only happened in Chicago.
Right.
It wasn't anywhere else, and it was only in, like, the middle town of Chicago. From my understanding, it was like a Walgreens. It was, Elk Grove Village, Osco drugstore, what else? Dominic. That's all that, they said Jules food locations, but it was all literally in Chicago, which that was kind of mind-blowing, because if you think of, a manufacturer, they distribute all over the place, right? And if you're manufacturing so many bottles, you would think that they would be going through thousands and thousands of bottles to hit every single place around the world. But, I guess that's kind of crazy.
I think that too. Hence the reason it was very easy to spin the narrative of because again Johnson and Johnson controlled the narrative on this, right? It was easy to spin the narrative. It's a rogue somebody. So lo and behold, the police then receive a letter saying, "I am responsible for this. I will I will make it I will make it seem like it's you unless you send $1 million to this bank account." And they received this, I think, on October 3rd or October 1st or something like that. And they get this letter, and it's very much an extortion letter. We will take Johnson and Johnson down, right? We're going to take them down because they are responsible for this. So the letter demanded $1 million to stop the cyanide induced murders. So when they get this letter, they trace the bank account, and the bank account goes back to Lakeside Travel Agency. And they're like, well, let's talk to the owner. And the owner's like, wasn't me. I'm fine. I've got plenty of money. I would have no reason to ask you for $1 million. I have no idea. But then they realize that there's this lady there, and she had been an employee, and her husband, who I believe he went under something Robert Richardson, or something like that, at that moment, who they realized that she had been paid, and the check bounced or something, and he had written a letter. He had written to them about that, and then they matched the handwriting, and they matched it to him.
But before that, they did find the manufactured place where these were manufactured in 2 different locations, right?
Right.
Before all that,
Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and Texas. Yes.
I've got
Right.
Pennsylvania and Texas. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they did find 2 manufactured, which is kind of crazy because you would think the manufactured is in Pennsylvania, they would distribute in Pennsylvania, and then you have Texas, you'd think they did just distribute in Texas. I mean, that's a far away from Texas all the way to Chicago. That's pretty far.
Right. Exactly. But I mean, they may not have had a distribution plant in Chicagoland. So, I mean,
Well, maybe,
so,
yeah. But I mean,
um,
it's a far, so anything from Texas or from Pennsylvania to Chicago, anything could have happened to those bottles. Anybody could have touched it, because they're not sealed. So what's to say somebody goes in the back, says, "Oh, let me do something to the," yeah, I mean, you just don't know, which is crazy. It's just mind-blowing to me.
right. Exactly. And they did have the hypothesis that someone had taken the bottles off the shelf in local stores in the Chicago area, placed the potassium cyanide in some of the capsules, and then placed the packages back on the shelves. So that's
Yeah.
that was their initial hypothesis. So so they ended up getting this letter for extortion, wanting the $1 million. They traced it back to what ended up being James Lewis. And the reason they knew his name was James Lewis is because when they put his picture out, and I think it was Robertson or Richardson, it was
This guy, right?
which one? I'm sorry, I'm
This guy,
looking.
right? This creepy
Yes,
guy?
yes.
Oh, he's creepy. You know what he reminds me of? Do you remember
Stupid.
Poltergeist? No, the Poltergeist. Remember the
Oh,
kid
yeah.
with the little girl when she comes out, and then the guy's, like, sitting there in the suit, in the black and white suit, and he's like, "Hey there, little girl," that
Yeah,
just
yeah.
kinda
Very
what it
much so, yes. So So this sheriff in Kansas City goes, "Oh my gosh, that's not Richardson, that's Jim Lewis." And here's why I know him. They trace it back to Jim Lewis. And but when they try to go and speak with him, they realize he's not in Chicago, he's in New York.
Mhm.
But the reason that the cop in Kansas City knew him is because Jim Lewis was born in Missouri. He met his wife, and they had and they were in college, and he goes, "The reason I love my wife is because she's smart. She's my equal, all the things." They opened up a CPA, or a tax place, and they ended up having a child back in 1964, and the child ended up being Down syndrome. She also had a congenital heart defect, that she had a hole in her heart that they patched up, and back in the 60s probably was a bit harder to do, or not as much technology. By the time this child was 5, the patch had given way, and she passed away. Within their tax business, one of their neighbors, I can't remember, Ray something, maybe West. I apologize. I spilled rum on my my notes. Ray West. He ended up befriending them. He loved the little, and when the little passed, him and Jim became really good friends.
Oh, see, I didn't get all that in my notes.
So he and Jim became really good friends, and but after a while, Ray was like, I really just don't want to be friends with Jim. Things are just a bit odd. But Ray ended up disappearing. And his family was like, what's going on? I don't know where he is. They even went to the police about it and filed a missing persons report. When the police went to Ray's place, there was a note on his door saying that on Lewis and Lewis stationery from the taxes, or the CPA business that they had, him and his wife, Jim and Leanne, saying, "Hey, he's gone to the Ozarks. He'll be back. He just wanted me to let you know." After months had gone by, they decided, okay, we're going to do a well check. He's not come back. We're just going to go into the house. They go into the house and they find blood. It's everywhere. And they're like, what went on here? They go up into the attic and they find Ray West's body dismembered. They go into the bathroom and the bars of soap have blood on them, and they find hairs and DNA from Jim Lewis, the culprit of the letter that's written in the Tylenol murders. So they arrest him, but they never read him his Miranda rights. So they have plenty of evidence, but because of this technicality, Jim goes free.
Wasn't
Shortly
there another
after,
story we did that they didn't read the Miranda rights and she got out scot-free?
yes.
Wasn't there another don't
I
you
can't
think they'd
remember.
learn?
Yeah, I
There
know.
was another story, right?
Yes.
Oh, the Texas girl.
Yes,
The
exactly.
Texas girl, that put her baby in the trash can. That's right.
Yes.
See, they come from Texas.
I know. So this is so after he gets off on this technicality, then he flees to Chicago. He and Leanne are there, and she's working at this lakeside travel agency. So he sends this letter, and they're like, "This is it." They also, when the sheriff in Kansas City sees it, he goes, "That's not Bob Richardson. This is Jim Lewis, and you should be looking at him. He got away because of a technicality. He's a fucking murderer."
Yeah.
And so the cops go, oh, this is what we're looking for. They end up arresting 2 different people that they think is him, because granted, this is the 80s. Whatever. Because they look like him, and they get off because they're not him. But then they go to try and arrest him at his home in Chicago. And when they get there, there's no one there. It's been packed up. Nobody, they moved.
He already moved to New York, right? He was already in New York.
Yes, exactly. So they find out they had moved to New York early September 4th. They find this out. They're going into everything. They end up arresting him for extortion with that, but they cannot link him to being in Chicago at the time that the people passed.
They did find, though, that he had like a poison, like
he had bought, back then you could buy cyanide at the hardware store. Did you know that?
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. But the
hardware store,
right? Oh my God, Jesus!
I know.
Got a container of that in my backyard. Cheating with it.
I'm just gonna use this to,
Wasn't his fingerprints were also discovered on the pages related to the cyanide and like books and stuff that he was researching? That's why they kind of pointed it to him.
No, I mean he had written an op-ed to the Chicago Tribune about something, and then they found fingerprints on the Tylenol bottles, but they back in 82 they didn't have the technology or anything to do DNA and things. But they literally, as they got him for extortion, they tried to link him to the Tylenol murders, but couldn't. He had an airtight alibi. There was nothing showing that he was not in New York at the time that these things happened.
No, but look how creepy he looks. Like
yeah, very creepy.
He looks creepy. He looks really creepy.
Somebody said on in the comments over here, the teeth. I can't unsee. His teeth freaked me out too. But no, so they ended up arresting him for the extortion. And he goes, no, literally, why would I send this to an account that I don't benefit on? If it was me, blah, blah, blah. But he ended up going down for the extortion. And literally at that time, the cops go, we got our guy. It's like Capone. We couldn't get him on all the murder shit, but we did get him on extortion. So he's going to jail. So he ended up going to jail for 10 years.
And that was in October, right?
Well,
he was sentenced in October.
No. Let me look at this.
Let me play this. Let me play this clip.
Let's do that,
everybody.
You do that. I shall.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this guy is really creepy. He creeps me out.
Ever, I wouldn't hurt anybody.
And then you have that right after. That's my look. That's the face of but I mean he's creepy. That guy is creepy. Let me see if I can get a better clip. But yeah, it's just it's crazy. Let me see if I can find a better clip for you guys. Than that one. No, I can't find a better one, maybe on different page here. But, Lewis was convicted and extorted and sentenced for 10 years in prison this was in 2007. So not that long ago. It is long, but not that, 20 years. We're
not quite. Yes.
But I mean,
years ago.
It just sounds, you think about it, it's in 2000s, like we're in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
It's not far from where we were,
Right.
in the 2000s. So it's just like, wow, this thing is so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. So, I mean, honestly, they thought, I mean, we've got our guy. Johnson & Johnson does a whole new rebranding. Here's what happens. They go, we are going to triple safety seal all of our shit. We're going to have a box that's sealed with glue. We're going on the bottle. We're going to have a foil thing that's on the top of the bottle, and then we're going to shrink wrap the lid on there, right? And so in 83 they rebrand. They think initially they were going to fucking lose all of their fucking money, but they were able to rebrand and gain the trust back because Johnson & Johnson had the narrative the whole time. This is a rogue person. We've got our guy, even though we can't get our guy. We are going to rebrand and everything is fine.
Here we go. I found a news clip of what
Yes.
he looks like now. Hold on, let me.
Well, he's dead now.
Yeah, I mean, not now, but I mean,
I'm sorry. He died in 2023.
Yeah. I mean, never mind. I'm just gonna play the clip. Let me just play the clip.
Terrell, the I-Team confirms the only person ever convicted in connection with the Tylenol killings has been found dead in his Cambridge, Massachusetts home. 76-year-old James Lewis was convicted of attempting to extort $1 million from Tylenol maker Johnson & Johnson in 1982 and was sentenced to federal prison. In a jailhouse interview, he once explained to the I-Team an intricate scheme that the killer would have used to fill Tylenol capsules with deadly cyanide using a drilled pegboard, but always denied he was the one who actually did it. Most investigators never believed him and considered Lewis the one and only suspect in the 7 Chicago area Tylenol murders, but he was never charged with the actual killings. Former Assistant U.S. Attorney Jeremy Margolis, who successfully prosecuted Lewis for an attempted extortion related to the case, said to the Chicago Tribune, quote, "I was saddened to learn of James Lewis's death, not because he's dead, but because he didn't die in prison." And last fall, the I-Team reported authorities were looking at possibly building a new murder case against Lewis, but his death will now stop those efforts. Watch.
Ain't that some shit? Ain't that some?
I know. It's pretty crazy.
Ain't that some shit? Now you know what? Gotta live scot-free and.
Well, he didn't go scot-free. He did do 10 years in federal prison for extortion.
That's 10 years.
I know, but it's federal prison. And back then I don't think they gave early time and fed time. So another person also was investigated. A man named Roger Arnold. He was a dock worker at a Jewel Osco in Melrose Park, which that Jewel Osco was one of the establishments that one of the contaminated bottles of Tylenol was bought. So he told somebody told him the officers that that Arnold possessed potassium cyanide. Bar owner Marty Sinclair, whose bar that Arnold had frequented, reported to Arnold to the police, saying that he had discussed killing people with a white powder and had become increasingly erratic after his marriage had dissolved. Now, Arnold had worked with victim Mary Reiner's father at a warehouse, and Arnold's wife had been treated at the hospital across the street from the store which Reiner bought her cyanide-laced pills. Now, what's crazy about this is the owner, Marty Sinclair, Arnold found out that he had ratted him out and decided he was going to kill him. Instead, Arnold mistook John Stanisha a random passerby for Sinclair and shot and killed him. So Arnold went to jail for murder because he killed John Stanisha, and he had nothing to do with it. He was just trying to kill Marty Sinclair for saying, "Hey, I think this guy has something to do with it." He did serve a 15 to 30-year sentence for murder, saying in prison in 1996 that he killed a man, a perfectly innocent person, and he had choices. He could have walked away. Ronald,
This guy does
sorry,
15 to 30, and the other guy just croaks over in his house.
I know. Roger Arnold died in 2008. In 2010, his body was exhumed and subsequently we reburied so a femur could be removed for DNA testing.
And in what month did he die in? In
June.
I just point that out. What month did he die? What month are we right now?
I know,
In June.
Hey, Paula and Murray. My husband said, Paula and Murray, say hi. Hello.
Hello.
So this is insane. So they have this other guy and they're like, nah, probably not. But he gets so fucking pissed off. He also had things about cyanide and had bought cyanide and had it in his possession, but it wasn't when they researched him. So again, fast forward, they think they have the guy with Jim Lewis. They get him for the extortion. It's like better to get this, even though we don't have enough on this. And so they rebrand. There's all these commercials. We should probably see if we can find a commercial from back in 83 when they were like, we're trusted and safe. So they have all these commercials, they rebrand, and fast forward to 1986 in Yonkers, New York. A woman named Ellsworth. I feel like it was Mary again. I can find it. So it wasn't. So in 1986, cyanide death reignited the 1982 Tylenol scare. So the victim, Diane Ellsworth, 23, and her boyfriend, Michael, returned from home at after a night at the movies. Ellsworth had a headache and was also taking antibiotics for an infection. She ended up taking a couple of Tylenol. Couple minutes later, she's dead. Cause of death, cyanide. The bottle had several other pills and contained brown cyanide powder. They had realized that nothing had been tampered with, but again, Johnson & Johnson goes, I think somebody tampered with it. But Jim Lewis is in jail for fucking extortion. So who fucking did it now? Is it a copycat?
Mm-hmm.
They said whoever did it was so precise, so I can't say that. I can't say that word. I don't know. Surreptitious, and no one could suspect anything. That was the end of the capsules. They changed to caplets after that. So even though they're like, it's some rogue motherfucker that put cyanide in this, it's not, we're going to change shit. So it can't be capsules anymore.
I'm trying to find a commercial of it, and I just can't. No commercials.
I know, it's crazy. They had it on the thing, but it's okay. So let's fast forward. Mary Reiner's daughter was 8 years old when her mom had passed. Mary Reiner's mother, or Mary Reiner, was 27 when she passed on September 29th of 1982. She had just had her fourth child. I mean, like weeks before. So they sent her home with Tylenol, because what do you take after you have a baby? Tylenol. What's safe to breastfeed and take? Tylenol.
I don't know, depending on hospital, because they gave me
Opioids?
Yeah, they gave me that, and I was like, "But I'm breastfeeding." They're like, "It's okay. A little bit's not gonna hurt the baby." I'm like, "The
She's
hell?"
gonna fucking sleep.
Like, I looked at them. They're like, "It's okay. You're fine." I'm like, I'm
I
literally
don't
looking
think
at the
so.
nurse, and I'm like, Is there something I'm missing that happened after my last kid to now? I mean,
Right.
granted, there's a 6-year difference, but there's something I'm miss and she's like, "No, it's okay. It's not a heavy dose. You'll be fine." No, thank you." I'm like,
No.
"It's okay. Um,
Well,
I'll
especially
live."
back then. Well, not even. I mean, let's be real. Back in, like the 50s, they would knock women out to have their babies. They'd wake up and be like, ta-da, you have a child. Even though they gave birth naturally, they just push it out on for them.
Like, "You're fine. It's okay. Don't worry about it. You don't need nothing. It's alright. No epidural, nothing. You're fine. Just pop that
So
baby out."
Mary Reiner's 8-year-old, or the girl who was 8 when she passed, grows up to be an adult and starts researching on her own and goes, I'm not sure it was this Jim Lewis guy. Granted, he's a piece of shit, but things just don't seem to add up, and everything kind of points to Johnson and Johnson. Come to find
Mhm.
out that initially they were like, there is no cyanide in the plant that makes the Tylenol pills. That's what they said. They were fervent on it. They were like, this is it. And then they start going through it and they're like, oh, but maybe there is, because we use it to test the actual, the capsules. We just want to make sure there's no lead in it. And for some reason, cyanide is the catalyst. I don't know all the science behind it, but
Can you
it's
imagine
all
how
locked up.
crazy that is?
Huh?
To think that they use that to test the capsules before they get shipped out. I'm like, I'm trying to as I'm seeing this story in the documentary, right?
Yes.
I'm trying to make sense of everything that they used to do back then to how we are now, and I'm going,
Insane.
"Wow."
I
Yeah.
know.
I'm like going, "Wow, were we idiots back then, or are we
I mean,
more
we used to
idiots
have
now?"
lead paint, for fuck's sakes. I mean,
And look, everybody turned out pretty okay.
yeah, I know. Kind of.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess kind of. I mean, you do have some of those,
I know, but no.
interesting.
But again, then they come out and they're like, "Oh wait, hold on. Okay, so there was cyanide, but it was locked up. It was under lock and key. There's no way just the lay person could get a hold of it." And they're like, "Oh wait, hold on. That's a lie. Anybody had access to the fucking cyanide." Literally, I mean, they didn't say it exactly in those words. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but they're like, wait, never mind.
Yeah.
But it couldn't. But what gets me is during the 1982, when it all happened, people were saying, here's my Tylenol, take it. They disposed and did not test of 20 million bottles of Tylenol from that area and from everywhere, that people were like, nope, that they never fucking tested. How do we know that those 7 people were the only ones that would have been affected had they taken it?
Or who else might have gotten it
Right.
and not say, "Okay, they just, they just died in their sleep, just
Well,
cardiac arrest or whatever."
exactly. They didn't. If you were elderly, they're not going to test you for. Oh, fuck, sorry. If you're elderly, they're not going to test you. If you're driving a car, they're going to
Yeah.
think something happened. I mean, the only reason it was tested prior is because these were young, healthy fucking people that passed.
And I honestly think they tested was because the families pushed the issue. I really
well,
think so.
when a guy dies, a 27-year-old dies, and then his brother and sister-in-law die in the same house, there has to be some connection. And I think that is the only reason. They would have never looked at the 12-year-old had these 3 things happened. And so even though Johnson and Johnson was like, wasn't us, and we're going to put these safety precautions in, who knows what would have happened in that factory. And with the one that happened in 86,
But why Chicago? Why out of all places, why not New York? Why just Chicago in the midtown of Chicago?
I
I mean,
think that's where the contaminated batches went.
you think that was just
I think
wherever?
it was coincidence that it all happened at the same time. You know what I mean? I think that's where I think the Philadelphia batch and the Texas batch all kind of whatever they sent out in that, whoever did it, maybe it was an accident. Who knows? I don't think that. I think somebody was like, let's see what we can do. But I think whatever happened ended up there. And those were the 7 people that were the unlucky ones who took it and bought it at the right time. And because it happened and they were like, hey, don't fucking take Tylenol. No, there were no other casualties that they knew of, because who knows? Again, it could be the elder, we don't know. We don't know who else died, because it may not have been reported as mysterious.
Now, didn't it happen again in 1991 in Washington State? Kathleen oh, hi, welcome. Kathleen Danker and Stanley McWhorter, hard words are hard, were killed from 2 cyanide boxes.
There were copycats, and that did happen in Washington State in 1991, and Stanley McWhorter.
McWhorter.
But that was 2 cyanide tainted boxes of Sudafed. Also Jennifer Melling went into a coma. Into a coma. Into a coma.
Don't mind us tonight, because words are fucking hard for both of us.
Words. From a similar poisoning, but recovered shortly after. Her husband was convicted of numerous charges in Seattle regarding the deaths of Danaker and McWhorter. So that was her husband.
Okay.
And then, but I do believe the 23-year-old Diane Ellsworth in Yonkers had something to do with, because she ingested extra-strength Tylenol capsules.
It kind
There
of
was an
freaks me out.
Excedrin one that was tampered with. That was also in Washington State. But they were able to connect people to that. So the only one that had to do with the extra strength Tylenol was the 23-year-old in Yonkers, New York. And again, further reasoning that it could have been connected to the actual facility that made them, because the Diane Ellsworth, there was no tampering shown on that. The other ones were actually,
You know what freaks me out is I take Tylenol extra strength. I do. 'Cause sometimes I get it, and I have a bottle in my car. And now I'm like, even today when I was sitting there and I was looking at, because I opened my glove box, I was like, oh, there's my Tylenol. And I looked at it and I'm like,
mhm,
your head starts playing tricks with you. You start going, well, what? I'm like, and I've had, pretty sure I've had a couple already of this bottle, because it's open. So it's either between me or my husband. But that's some crazy shit to think of a medicine that you take over the counter for your head or for anything, you know,
right, yeah,
it's just like, and then you start thinking, could this been maybe something where, you have Motrin and you have other ibuprofen, that you take in substitute of Tylenol.
hmm
Could it been something where they wanted to market their thing? You know what I mean? Like, you start going, like, your
well,
head starts
absolutely.
spinning.
Well, and it's crazy that Mary Reiner, she was the only one who actually only had a regular strength Tylenol at home. But when they sent her home from the hospital, they sent her home with extra strength, and she just put them in the same bottle and ended up taking them.
That's crazy.
That's why her daughter was like, "Listen, this wasn't how would some maniac get into the hospital supply? This had to be from the supply chain." And her daughter is still convinced that it was in the plants, especially in 82. Who knows? I think it was probably a rogue thing in 86. But, I think I do believe that, and here's the thing, even if they had all the safety precautions, I think these still would have happened in 82 because somebody in the plant was like, let me see what I can get away with. You know what I mean?
Let me tamper. Let me play around since I have this liquid in the backyard right now. So we can just, you know what I mean?
Right. So Rose, let me ask you, after you watched and have done your research, do you think that Jim Lewis was the culprit, or do you think, or what is your take on that?
I honestly think, I think he was a copycat. I think he wasn't, I don't think he actually did, the crime. I think he wrote the letter. I think he thought he could get some money, and get away with it, I think.
Mhm.
But do I think that he actually didn't know? I do think he killed the girl and did all that. I do think of all that, but I don't think he was, I don't wanna say copycat because I don't think he was really a copycat. I think he was just more of, "Let me see what I can get out of this.
Like an
This is a new."
opportunist? Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And that's kind of my thought on it. Do I think Jim Lewis is a fucking piece of shit? Yes.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
Do I believe he fucking murdered Ray West? Yes. He also was brought up on rape charges in 2004. The only reason there was no DNA evidence at that moment. However, they the girl in question was able to identify him, but she got so scared that she couldn't, visibly shaken, she could not testify, that they had to drop the case.
Now let
So
me
do I
ask
think
you
he's a
this.
piece of shit? Yes. Do I think he did crimes that he should have gone to jail for that he didn't? Yes. But do I think he did this? No, I don't. I
Let
think
me
he was
ask you
just
this.
trying to extort.
Do you think multiple people are involved, not just one person?
I do. I think it was like disgruntled employees, to be fair.
That's what I think. I think somebody just got pissed off or
Or
not just somebody,
curious
but a couple.
employees. You know what I mean? Let's see what we can get away with. Let's see if this actually fucking works. Who knows? I mean,
Or,
but
you know
yeah,
what? I didn't get paid my wage or whatever. I think it was maybe a couple, and let
yeah,
me throw them down the hole. Fuck them.
yeah.
They
Fuck this
they
company.
fucked with.
Make them
Yeah.
go under.
It's
I
like,
mean,
I mean, you always hear that all the time when, you always have protesters outside offices, especially like um hospitals and stuff where they're out there and they're protesting that their wages aren't being paid or they aren't getting met to what they want,
right.
especially what is it? The workers on strike.
Yeah,
Um and do I think that this might be one of those cases? I think so.
I do too.
I think so. I think a couple of people were pissed off that maybe they took their 401k or they didn't have donuts in the lounge, and they said, "You know what? I'm gonna stick it to them right here. No
I
one's gonna
agree.
know. Who's gonna tell? There's no seals, there's no nothing. Um, who's gonna say anything?" You know?
Yeah.
And
And
back
from
then, there weren't cameras. There weren't cameras in factories back
not
then.
as no. And I mean, they didn't have fucking seals on the fucking bottles. They would have never known. And honestly, to further solidify the way we think is they did take DNA um, from Jim Lewis and Roger Arnold. They obviously exhumed his body. And their DNA did not match what was on the bottles of Tylenol that were infected, not infected, compromised, infected. They were infected with cyanide.
You get infected, and you get infected.
I bet affected, not infected. But their
Tell you,
DNA
words are
did
hard
not
to
match.
say.
Their
Um,
DNA did not match. So, to be honest, do I think Jim Lewis was a piece of shit? Abso-fucking-lutely. I do
yeah.
believe he probably killed and I could be wrong on that guy's name, Ray West. I think that's it though. And I could be wrong on that, but I believe he did do that. They did find his DNA there. They just mishandled the evidence and did not read him his Miranda rights, so he got off on a technicality. The grape case in 2004, he got off on a technicality because she just couldn't be a witness and couldn't get up on the stand. And honestly, now I think they would have taken her not having to testify in front of him and done things a little bit differently. And maybe he would have gone away for it, but he is dead now. And
Well, you know what's so crazy that in May 19th of 2011, the FBI requested a DNA sample of the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski.
Mhm.
Sorry if I said that wrong. In connection to the Tylenol murders. Kaczynski denied having ever
Kaczynski, yeah.
Kaczynski is ever denied having ever any possession of cyanide. So that's kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, I
I'm
didn't
going over
realize
my
that was a
notes.
connection. Yeah.
You know, the first 4 Unabomber crimes happened in Chicago, and its substance from 1978 to 1980. So
Huh.
that's kind of interesting to know that just kind of popped up here when I was reading my couple of notes here that I have. So that's kind of interesting to think that maybe there was a connection there with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't realize that either. Um,
So,
and
you know,
honestly, the 82 incident of the cyanide has changed the way we package or not even prescription drugs, over the counter drugs. Now they have tamper resistant words, tamper resistant packaging, you know, such as seals and, multifaceted ways of not being, again, as we've said, how hard is it to get into fucking medicine that you actually want to take, even if it's over the counter, you know?
well, even think about it, even open your case of glasses now when you come out of the doctor's is like trying to open that thing forever. But I mean, it's crazy to think that so much has changed because of certain things happen that change now. So let me ask you this. Do you think now that this story has come out, now it's on Netflix, this is a big thing that's going around now, people are talking about it.
Mhm.
Do you think this is going to hurt Johnson & Johnson and Tylenol?
No.
Or do you think it's going to um I don't want to say help them because they obviously don't need help because that's what everybody in the entire
I
world
mean,
uses Tylenol. Um
when even if you take off-brand acetaminophen, you call it Tylenol, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, it's like Kleenex or, I don't know, Kleenex. Or when you know what I mean, anything, that even though it's the brand name becomes synonymous with what the product is, even if it's not that brand name. If you say I need a Kleenex, it's a facial tissue. You say I need a Tylenol, that means you need a pain reliever. If you need whatever it may be, I don't believe at this moment in time that it will ever affect them. It could have back then,
I'm
but
trying to find I know that Johnson & Johnson came out with a statement. So I'm trying to find their statement that they had came out with. My notes here.
do I think it would affect it? No. And kind of devil's advocate, had this never had happened, we would be susceptible to people tampering with our over the counter drugs even now. I mean, you definitely still can, but it's not as easy. I mean, think of it. I
Well,
mean, they literally thought that somebody pulled these, 7 different bottles off the shelf or more and just tampered with those specific ones because they
um,
could. They could just drop in fucking cyanide to a fucking, you know what I mean?
well, do you remember too, like, was it a couple years ago or maybe when I was more younger, I remember people were saying, because they were putting stuff inside soda bottles. Do you remember that? Don't open if it's not sealed, don't drink
Mhm.
the soda bottle because people were
Right.
putting something in it. Now that's always a caution when I go to to the liquor store and I get a bottle of soda. I'm looking at it and it's now that I'm saying this so funny, not funny, but so I used to help out this elderly gentleman with his wife after school
Mhm.
and help him out, and he would actually grab the soda bottle, and actually in the bottom, we would have to look for the tape because he would inject the medication for his wife because she would drink Diet Coke, and so we would look on the bottom. If it had a tape, we wouldn't touch it. And
Right.
now and so how easy is that? Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
and not even think about it, and you grab it and you drink it, and you go on your day, and the next thing you know, you're croaked on the floor. But now it's just, especially when you go out to drink with your friends, you gotta check your like, we have to be so cautious now.
Oh,
It's crazy.
absolutely. I mean, it's become I mean, people, have been able to profit on things to keep safeguard you from being, roofied. There's things you can put on your drinks when if you walk away from them, or you have your friend watch it or whatever, you absolutely have to fucking make sure. How crazy is it that back in 1982 you could fucking buy cyanide at the fucking hardware store? Why? I meant to
What was
look this
the
up.
purpose? What was the purpose of it? I just wanna know what the purpose of why was that in my backyard? Like, or I have a bottle of it in the shed, or it's in my kitchen
Right.
next to the like, I would wanna know why people why would you use that? Why would you have it, period? I'm trying to see, 1991. So 1991, Johnson& and Johnson agreed to a settlement, um, for an undisclosed amount. So they were sued.
Oh, they actually settled. They were sued by and they were they were sued by the families of the murdered of the people who fell victim to the cyanide. And they ended up settling out of court.
Did they ever come out
Oh,
with a,
cyanide was used as a pesticide, including for fumigation purposes, hydrogen cyanide, but that's not potassium cyanide that was used. Mining, chemical
look,
why would
I
I?
get ants in my house and I throw baby powder. It keeps the ants away. I mean, there's baby powder all over my house, but for some reason, ants don't like baby powder. Just a note for everybody who
Well,
has ants.
maybe I mean, it might have been that. I mean, it might have been a pest control. Let's have these ants, take this cyanide back to their colony and croak. I mean, I'm fine with it. I hate ants. They are my least favorite insect.
Oh my god, and we're going into the heat season, so I get
Oh,
them all the
I
time.
know. They're all over the campground. They're all over the campground.
But let me tell you, baby powder takes it away.
All
I don't
right.
know what it is, but baby powder and white chalk, they hate it. I don't know what it
Nice.
is. But I'm curious to see if Johnson& and Johnson had came out with a response to the public, and I'm trying to find anything here, and I don't see anything in my notes that they ever did come out with,
Well,
anything.
I know for the documentary they did not give any statements, but
Which it was a good documentary. For all of you that see this documentary on Netflix, it's not long. I think it's only 3 episodes. It's not long, but
yeah,
it's not boring either. It actually
no.
yeah. And it's hard for me, especially, I'm pretty sure somewhere along the line I must have ADHD or something because I get bored easily and then I go on my phone. And this one I actually watched it twice for my brain to grasp everything.
Mhm.
It was pretty good. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't long. It was short, it was sweet, but it was perfect.
It was really to the point, and honestly, they went with all fucking aspects of it. Not They didn't just go Jim Lewis was it. They went maybe it was Johnson and Johnson. Uh,
Yeah, they gave both sides their opinions, they not opinions, they gave both sides of the story for you to make your own opinion, which I really
Exactly.
like.
I agree. Yeah, I don't see any actual statements. One of the things I found, it just says that in the wake of the 82 Chicago Tylenol murders, Johnson and Johnson responded with swift and comprehensive crisis management. Again, I don't know if this happened today, if the government would allow Johnson and Johnson to be a part of the investigation. But they did recall all Tylenol products immediately. They offered refunds and engaged in extensive media communication to assure that the public of their commitment to safety. They recalled 31 million bottles of Tylenol at this time.
Now, who was Sheila Nicholas? Because
That
she
was
was
one of the
convicted she was sentenced to 90 years in prison.
that was the Excedrin tampering case in Washington State, I believe, and that was
Oh,
a
okay.
copycat one, because that happened in the 90s, I believe.
That happened. I have 1982, an incident inspired the
Oh,
pharmaceutical, food, and consumer products tampering results, packaging such as
but this was the Excedrin
introductions.
tampering case. Let me look at her.
Okay.
Um, boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, so this was a really good documentary. It was I liked how they gave both sides of the points. Could have been him, it could have been here. I liked how they had the investigators, the police that said, okay, I think it's this person. Then they had other people go, no, I think it's Johnson and Johnson. I liked how they gave both sides of the story and they delegated the entire documentary and
I
not had
agree.
one side. It wasn't
I
a
agree.
one-sided story.
A lot of times when you watch documentaries, this is it. We've already, convicted in public opinion, whoever we have put up here. This one really made you think, was it Jim Lewis? Was it Roger Arnold? Was it Johnson and Johnson? And as I watched it, I do believe it was probably disgruntled employees at Johnson and Johnson. I don't believe, again, I think Jim Lewis is a piece of shit. I think he murdered his neighbor. I also believe he probably raped that woman, his neighbor at the time. But I don't believe he actually did this. I do believe he was an opportunist and wanted to extort money out of them, and also kind of stick it to his wife's ex-employer because he was mad at them. But I don't believe that he actually did that. So.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and like I said, I think he's a piece of shit too, and he's creepy looking too. He looks
Oh,
like the guy
his
from
fucking teeth are so gross. I'm like, dude, come on. Come on. You Here's the thing. He passed in 2023. There has been so much that has gone on in technology for teeth. He should have good ones.
well, I'm telling you, he reminds me of the Poltergeist, the guy in the black suit where he comes out
Oh,
for the
yeah.
little, that's who he reminds me. I look at him like going, "Oh god, you're so creepy. You're just so creepy." I mean, he's cringe. He's such a cringe.
Yeah.
And, I think that he wanted maybe to get that fame of something,
I
and
think
it
he wanted the
backfired on him.
notoriety of it. I think it did backfire. I think again, when he had allegedly killed Ray West, he had written a check to himself from Ray for $5,000, and so I do believe he was all about that. And I wouldn't put it past him to murder somebody, but I don't think he would have done it in a mass quantity like that. I think it would have been more personal, like, fuck you, you're not giving me money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, then he laughs too in the documentary. He says, "I wouldn't hurt anybody." He, and he's laughing, and
Well,
you're like,
and if you could
"Oh,
if the technology got it to where you could read my brain, you would know I didn't do this. Yeah, we would know you didn't do this thing, but we would find out you fucking murdered other people and did other things.
yeah, you've done a lot more, buddy, a lot more than that." But like I said, this documentary is good. If you guys get a chance, go check it out. It's not long. It's 3 episodes, and
It's less than 2 hours worth
yeah,
of watching, and you can form your own opinion on it. So
yeah, and let us know what you guys think. Definitely tell us what you guys think. It'd be great to see what your opinion is on this story. Um, I I'm I was hoping that Johnson and Johnson would come out with a statement or say something. I mean,
One
at
would
least
think that they would, but they're probably like, we're over it. We've dealt with it. You know what I mean? We don't.
yeah.
We're such a conglomerate that we don't need this to happen. We don't need this. Even this bad publicity isn't going to affect our sales now. I mean, look at
I mean,
Johnson and Johnson. Not only not only do they, baby shampoo and stuff, Tylenol. I mean, Band-Aids, all the,
yeah.
all the things, not and vaccines. I mean, they also put out a COVID vaccine as well. I mean, they are a huge conglomerate of, you know, medical, medicines and all the things. So they probably are like, it's fine.
It's fine.
Even if
It's
it
just
was
so
us, we're not
huge.
going to admit it now.
I was just in shock that like I said, I had no clue that they were attached to Tylenol at all. And maybe that's because I don't read the bottle, and usually I just ask the doctor, "How much should I give my kids?" Okay, done. That's it, you know? Now I'm, like, going, "Okay, well," and you start thinking going, "Damn, can you imagine 1982, if you were an adult at that time, and this was what would you and, you know, because you heard of it in Chicago, here in California or where you're at, would you go, "Oh, it's only there. It's only a
Right,
story. It wouldn't happen here." Would that have any difference because, it only happened there? Would you think of anything different? Would you be like, "Oh, it's happening in Chicago. It would never happen here."
right,
Because we didn't hear any other stories, unfortunately. I mean, it's good that hopefully nobody else passed away about this, and it was confined to an area. It's sad that these people this is what happened for us to learn about it,
right.
but then you start thinking, did it really happen in other places? Did this really go on? And was it confined to only certain areas? Like, I mean, there's so many things that could go in
Well, I
your
think
head.
they hit it so quickly that, because of the 7 people that died on the same day, I think, because of that, and thank God, I mean, there was no social media back then. It was the news outlets, it was the police doing, people were knocking door to door, but across the nation, I think they were like, "Do not take it at all." I remember at some point hearing about maybe we shouldn't take Tylenol. I for some reason I remember that and I don't know why. When the Tylenol murders thing came up, I was like, "Oh, I kind of remember this." And then knowing when it happened in 82, why would I fucking remember that? Maybe it was the 86 thing, with the chick that passed in Yonkers, or you know what I mean? I don't know why I remember this. Maybe I remember my parents talking about it, you know.
Yeah. I, for the life of me, do not remember. I've racked my brain around it going, okay, did something that, and I even asked my mom, I called her and I asked her, I said, "Hey, do you remember not taking Tylenol? Did it?" And she's like, "I don't remember so long ago." She's like, "I don't remember." She's
That
like, "I
was
don't remember."
42 years ago. I don't fucking remember.
She's like, "I don't even remember what happened yesterday. You want me to remember a couple years back?"
43, really, almost
Yeah.
43 years ago. But seriously, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Johnson and Johnson, I looked up their products. So they do the baby stuff. They have Neutrogena, Band-Aid, Tylenol, Listerine, other products like Aveeno, Clean and Clear, Vaseline. They again vaccines. They do things like surgical instruments, implants, and other medical technologies. Orthopedic implants and surgical products. So I mean, they are kind of a big player in the health game here. So
So they're like, "This story, it's
yeah,
fine. Screw it."
whatever. And Tylenol is such a household name. Again, we call generic acetaminophen,
Yeah.
which is what it is, the actual thing. I mean, it's Tylenol. I mean, you either take Tylenol or ibuprofen, right?
Yeah. Motrin or Tylenol, which
Yes,
one are you taking?
exactly.
One or the other. And it's so funny because my daughter, she doesn't take well to Tylenol.
Yeah.
She doesn't do well with it. But that's the only thing she can take right now because of what's going on with her. But
Mhm.
and it's just so interesting to see like everything. Like if I'm going back in my head right now when we were in the hospital with her, I'm like, everything. It was baby wipes. It was
Yeah,
all
everything.
things that they were giving her, and everything had Johnson & Johnson on it. But right now that you said Listerine, I didn't know Listerine had anything to do with Johnson & Johnson until you just
No.
said it. I'm like, or Alvino. I thought Alvino was a different brand.
Right.
Shit, they're huge.
Yeah.
They're huge. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's truly, I mean, things that we don't realize that are everyday products in our lives are Johnson & Johnson.
All we need to have is one of those, what is it? The antibacterial sprays,
Yeah. Like Lysol.
Yeah, Lysol. Actually be
That's
Johnson
probably
& Johnson.
I think that's, hold on. For some reason, I feel like I should know that.
Oh, like, that's the next product, you know? That's crazy. Crazy how this multi-million-dollar company, you
Mhm.
know, and you get this little thing and it gets hushed pretty quickly. Because like I said, I'd
Exactly.
never heard of it until now.
Yeah.
And my curiosity is, why did this story come out now? Because he's passed? Because why? Why are we bringing this story out? Why this documentary? Why now and not a couple
Right.
years back? That's the other question. You know, are they trying to hurt Johnson & Johnson? Are they trying I mean, I don't think they're gonna put a dent regardless in this company.
I don't. I think honestly, I think now is they actually had Jim Lewis on the documentary. He passed in 2023. Honestly, I think they were still trying to pin it on him and um or find an actual answer. And when all of the answers came up, whatever, they're like, "Hey, we probably need to look at this again. Was it Johnson and Johnson? Was it, a rogue employee, or was it, some, psychopaths that tried to poison everybody?" So I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I hope everybody loved this story tonight.
Yes.
This was a really good story, and it puts a lot to think motion into your head before you open a bottle of Tylenol. Make sure it's sealed, done correctly. I don't know, get a baby wipe. I don't know, alcohol. I don't know. Do
Well,
something.
for me, I mean, I really wanted to pin it on that Jim Lewis guy. He's a fucking creep. But I
Yeah.
don't think I can. I just really don't think I can. Critical thinking, I don't think that he did it.
I don't think he was
I think he
capable.
no, no, I think he is, but I don't think he did. I don't think I think he's capable of murder. I think he's
Yeah.
capable of other things, but I don't think he did this. I think he was an opportunist that saw a way to get back at he was a disgruntled spouse of an employee, and I think he and a fraud already. And I think that was his downfall, and that got people looking at him more than they should have. He should have never taken that opportunity. He should have sat on it and just let it go, because we would have never even heard about him in Kansas City with Ray West, or in 2004 with the grape attempt, or the grape, or the alleged grape that I think he did. But I mean, he wouldn't have been on people's radar. He could have just let it go. But he thought he saw money or
Money hungry.
notoriety. Yeah, or notoriety. But
You know why I say I don't think he's capable? I think he's
mm,
capable of murder, yes.
yeah,
But I think this was
the scope of it.
too
Yeah,
big too big too big. The way that this happened, I think it was too out of his league. Like, this was too perfect. Like, if it was a face to face, I think he would absolutely
I
murder
agree.
anybody.
Yeah, I think it was very much out of his scope of, yeah, did he know fucking cyanide, and could he buy it? Sure, but was he? Yeah, I don't. I agree with you there, and he wasn't even in Chicago
Yeah.
at the time that they could prove. So
Yeah. So I think that's where I stand. I think, is he capable of murder? Yes. Is he capable of graping? Yes. Is he capable of all these things when they're in front of him, those positions in front of him? But do I think that something blah,
strategic.
yeah, I can't even talk now.
It's okay.
For something
Words.
like for right words again. For something like that, for him to think out of his realm, to do and to process and put it all together like a mastermind of this.
Yeah.
No,
He's very much
I
an
don't think.
opportunist, not a mastermind. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if you sit there and everybody, if when you look at this documentary, it's the way he talks, and that's why I say that is because the way he talks, the way he presents himself, the way he's saying things, it those don't add up, and I think
Mhm.
that's why they couldn't pin on him. I think
Yeah,
that's the reason why.
I
I
agree.
think that, you know, and it's hard to say. I think it was a group of people? Yeah, I do. I think maybe some people at the plant was like, you fuck with my 401k, I'm gonna fuck with you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just one of those things. Like, I mean, it's granted, it wasn't a 401k, so I'm just
We're
saying
going to
allegedly.
just started then.
I know, right? They're gonna be like,
You
no.
fuck with my pension because back then is when pensions were a big thing. But no, and I agree with that. I think, or they're like, whatever, we're gonna fuck with the company. I don't think they understood, even though it's cyanide and you've always heard the things, they don't, it's to the person putting it in the pills in the factory, it's almost a victimless crime because they don't really get to see who it affects. They will hear about it, but I don't know, some fucking Joe Schmo off the street is gonna take this fucking pill. What's it really gonna fucking do? Right? I mean,
Yeah,
your mentality at that point is like, I'm working 12 fucking hours a day and don't get vacation or whatever, and they're not whatever. I think in their brains it was probably a victimless crime in that respect. You know, we're gonna hurt the company. We're not gonna hurt somebody, and it really
yeah,
hurt people. So
yeah. I agree with that. And now it's a caution of, hey, when you open a bottle of Tylenol, make sure it's sealed and
mhm.
wrapped up correctly, or anything you take. I mean, look at
Yeah.
us now. Pieces of candy. I mean,
Yeah.
back in the 80s, that's something that happened in the 80s too, remember? Where they were putting stuff in the candy like little blades and knives and,
I mean, they said that it was kind of it was
yeah.
fear mongering back then.
That feared me, okay? Now I'm like
My
opening
parents had me
everything.
convinced the fucking ice cream man was putting drugs in the fucking ice cream to fuck with me. And then they bought my kids fucking ice cream. I'm like, you just didn't want to pay the money. No. And again, as a person, or if you have drugs, you're not going to, put them into candy for your kids to have because you paid for them and you want them. It is just what it is. You're not going to fucking give them away for free.
But back then.
No, you were still not gonna do that. Oh, Lord.
Well, so thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this story, and we have another great one next week, and hopefully AC will be back. He's
Yeah.
busy doing grown-up stuff, and
It's tough to be a grown-up.
I know, you'll never grow up if you're watching
I know. That shit.
those things I hate.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? We haven't brought up our favorite picture. This is my look with Jim Lewis. Did he really do it? Did he? Is he the corporate of this whole thing?
Goodness gracious.
That's it. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful night. We'll see you next week, Friday at the same time, same place. Good night. Bye.
Bye.